Hello everybody, thank you for being here tonight. We are on our week number 4 of our 9-week In.Form transformation journey. Tonight we've got some exciting information to cover. We're going to be talking about heavy metal detox and detoxing and what all that means, and heavy metals in general in our society. We're also going to be talking about heart health and the cardiovascular system. We're going to be busting out some myths that we have on fat, and a few other little things that I've got prepared for you tonight, as well as a special presentation by Shiree on exercise. I'm also going to be doing a drawing tonight, so I'm all up for giving away a protein powder or a shaker bottle, whichever the person who has the winning number has. So I'm all about participation tonight, so I'll be giving out lots of little tickets all throughout the night, and we'll do our drawing after we're done with the class tonight. All right, so as we start off tonight, I think this quote here that we have over here is perfect. Believing there is a solution to cardio wellness that does not include eating changes is believing a lie. Cardio wellness is something that incorporates not just a pill, but incorporates nutrition, incorporates exercise, incorporates all aspects. And cardio health is a big issue in our society, which we'll talk about more a little bit later on. But we just need to make sure that we're understanding that, going to the doctor and just getting a pill so the symptoms go away doesn't mean the issue is going away. If you want to truly make sure that the issue is going away, we need to approach our health, our cardio wellness, as well as all our other health issues or diseases or anything that may be going on with nutrition, as well as supplementation and proper thinking and things along that line. So I guess I got 2 questions for everybody. How did everybody's week go? Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Good numbers though.
Yeah, it was better on there than how I felt.
Good. Yeah. Rosa, how'd your week go?
Rough, like hers.
Well, mine was rough too, I will tell you, but my numbers are actually better than I thought they would be. So I guess sometimes it kind of tells you can kind of have a rough week once in a while, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to blow your whole progress or anything that you've done. So that's very, very satisfying to know. So the next thing I want to know, did anybody start an affirmation or a mantra or anything like that for the week? Anybody have yet?
I just said that I am not going to let myself get discouraged if I am not seeing immediate changes.
Okay, so I'm not going to let myself be discouraged if I don't see immediate changes.
Right.
Okay, all right, great.
Good enough?
I'm trying to decide the positive and negative on it. As you can see me circulating in my head with that. I won't be discouraged. How about I will always be encouraged even with small changes?
Okay. Well, considering I had small changes, yeah, but I was thinking I wasn't going to have any changes.
Yeah. Okay, I will still be encouraged if there's small changes or no changes.
Okay.
I will still be
So do I need to
encouraged.
change that on this?
Well, and the reason I'm saying that is because when we think of the word
Get rid of
discourage, the vibration of that word versus the word of encourage has 2 different, feelings to us. So we want to make sure that we're using those and switching those words. We're going to talk about that more a little bit later on tonight, but good start off. Okay, so overview tonight, we're going to talk about measurement results. We got some great results to share on that. We're going to do a recap on last week with your pantries and label and grocery store shopping and some of the things that we talked about last week. We're also going to talk about heavy metal toxicity. I've got a special presentation I will be showing tonight on heavy metal toxicity that I'm really excited about. And of course that's going to kind of finish up our discussion from last week on toxicity as well. We're going to talk about module number 5, which is heart health, and of course talk about fat myths as well. We've got a special presentation that we recorded last night that Shiree did on exercise, so we'll be showing that at the end of tonight's class. We've got a great smoothie for you tonight. Actually, my class last night really liked it. Somebody even said the whey one tasted like whipped cream. I was like, really? Okay.
Oh,
So anyway, we're doing it. I don't know what I did differently, but anyways, I had a really good response to it. So it's a tropical smoothie. We're going to be incorporating coconut oil as one of our good healthy fats, coconut shreds. I'm going to use coconut milk, a little bit of coconut water. You get the theme, coconut. And anyways, we're also going to use mangoes and then a little bit of a sunshine blend juice. We're only going to use like a quarter of a cup, and we'll talk about more on how to add juices to our In.Form shakes and still keep them within the boundaries of what we're doing nutritionally wise. So, and of course the drawing tonight as well. So first of all, measurement results. So I'm very excited. Kind of want to do a happy dance right now. So 8 people who did measurements between last night and tonight, including yours truly. I put myself on there. We lost 27¼ inches between 8 people in 4 weeks, which brought us to an average of 3.406 inches per person in 4 weeks. So we're looking at over 3/4 of an inch per week per person on average. And so I think that's really encouraging for a lot of us, because maybe some of us haven't seen our weight fluctuate, or like me, my weight's gone up, but yet my inches have gone down. So I'm still on the right track. You know, even though I want my weight to go down, I know it will come down in time. I'm doing the background work right now by increasing muscle mass. So very nice job, everybody. I want to give you all a big hand. I'm very excited about that. Those are some good numbers for the first 4 weeks with what we're doing. All right, so let's move on. Next, we're going to talk a little bit about our SMART goals. So I'm going to get set up here to start giving out some tickets and everything for y'all. I'm ticket queen tonight, let me tell you. So yes, somebody give me their number 1 goal, which would be on nutrition or water or supplement intake. Who's got one for me?
I gotta get all of my 5 ounces of greens in every day.
5 ounces of greens every day. That's a great one to have. Wonderful. Somebody give me a second one, your second goal based on exercise. Who wants to share that?
That's for what we're going to do tonight?
No, it's
Starting
what your
next
goal
week
should have
or
been
what?
last week.
Okay.
What were you going to do for exercise? Go.
Treadmill.
Treadmill. What about the treadmill?
Well, he's gonna look
Every
at
day.
it. He's gonna look at it every
30
day.
minutes.
Oh,
I forgot the recording.
So 30 minutes. So George's goal per Jerry Ann is 30 minutes on the treadmill
A day.
a day.
Okay.
A day. Okay. Awesome.
Okay, I'll let you just 3 or 4 days.
Awesome. Okay. So my last one is, who wants to share? Of course, Jerry Ann already shared her mantra, so we'll give her another ticket. Her affirmation.
I better freaking win.
Anybody else? Anybody else want to
That
share?
won't get you winning with that vibe.
Rose's checking vibes. Anybody else want to share your affirmation, your healthy affirmation? Anybody?
I forgot what mine was.
You forgot. Well, that's why you got to write it down.
No.
Christy, you want to share? Drink more water. What about your healthy affirmation as far as like your healthy talk? Like what you want to what do you want to wash
Positive thinking.
wash your cells with? Yeah, positive thinking. Because remember we talked last week, we want to make sure it's setting that up to program ourselves to turn it into our reality for ourselves.
Yeah.
Do you remember what yours was?
No.
Nope.
I
Okay.
changed
You got it
it.
wrote down?
You would say, you wrote it down, but you didn't bring your stuff with you, right? Okay.
That's what I'm.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we'll do some more of those tickets in a little bit on a few other things that we're doing. Okay, so I know I can give out tickets for results. So what I would like to do is I would like at least 2 other potentials of a healthy affirmation, a healthy talk. Something, can anybody come up with any other ideas? And I'll start off with one so you guys know where I'm going with this. So instead of saying I can never lose weight, you know, I'm on the journey to losing weight and in the process of losing weight, or I'm in the process of losing weight, instead of I'm not losing, I have a hard time losing weight. That would be what I'm looking at. So can anybody come up with something that somebody might want to use and switch those words around? You think of anything? It doesn't have to be yours, it could just be in something anybody would use.
I'm gonna love the way I look in my clothes.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. That's it. Anybody else want to share an example? Surely, Rose, you can come up with an example. Julianne can't have all the tickets.
I know.
It's gotta be a competition.
I don't have one and he'll win it.
Just thinking of something basic you could say to yourself that would be positive, uplifting for your whole being. Tell you what, you guys think of one? Raise your hand. And
Okay.
we'll catch up on it, okay? So you're not on the spot.
Cause I got shaken up, cause I found I didn't give you the right one. 'Cause
Oh.
there it is. This is the quite purified question.
Yeah,
there.
yeah. We'll look at that later on.
So
Okay,
whoops.
good deal. Okay, so if you guys think of some healthy examples while we're going through this, and you say, hey, raise your hand and say healthy talk, give me your healthy talk, okay? All right, so last week's information. Who cleaned out their pantry last week, or a refrigerator, or something that maybe had some foods in it that didn't need to be in there? Anybody do that? Did you do it, Rosa?
Yes.
You did. Awesome. There you go.
Thank you.
Anybody else clean out their pantry or refrigerator or anywhere where we keep?
Mine's pretty much been.
Are we done? All right, cool. And then what I would like to have from somebody else next is an example of an ingredient that you want to stay away from in your personal care items. Give me one ingredient that you want to stay away from in your personal care items.
Metal.
Metal? Aluminum, yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
And what's that stuff that's in hair care products?
Sulfates.
Sulfates,
Sulfates.
sodium lauryl sulfates.
Sodium lauryl.
Sodium lauryl
Yeah,
sulfates. Yes, exactly. Let her in. Silly boy. Can somebody else give me another example of another, well, let me finish that real quick. So other things to make sure we stay away from in hair care and personal care items would be alcohol,
Oh, yeah.
natural fragrances, right? Sodium lauryl sulfates, alcohol, heavy metals, aluminum, all of those things. So somebody now give me an example of a food ingredient that we need to stay away from in our labels of our food.
Trans fat.
Trans fat, so we didn't talk about that last week, we're talking about that tonight. But good job, we do want to stay away from that. What else? Somebody give me one more.
Sugar.
That's what I was saying. Yeah.
Sugar, yeah, sugar,
And
definitely.
added sugar. And
Added sugar and corn syrup, and we'll talk about all that next week.
GMOs.
fructose.
You bet.
Yeah.
GMOs.
I mean, high fructose. corn
High
syrup.
fructose corn syrup, you bet. What about food colorings?
Mm.
That was a really big one for us last week. We want to definitely stay away from food colorings as well. Okay. Grocery store rules. I'm not done with tickets yet. Somebody give me a grocery store rule.
Stay away from the outer edges because that's
Stay
where all
away
the
from
junk
the
food
inside.
is. Oh, wait, no.
Start over.
I have it opposite.
Yeah.
Stay away from the inner aisles because
Yes.
that's where the junk food is.
Exactly.
Okay.
All that processed food. Exactly. Anybody give me one more grocery store rule?
Don't go hungry.
Don't go hungry.
Yeah.
And don't take your children
Yeah.
if you're hungry. Or just don't take your children at all if you can get by with that. But anyway.
Yeah.
All right, and what about the rule on reading labels in the grocery store? What about the rule on reading labels?
If it does not say GMO, don't even start.
Well, that's a good rule. It's not the one I'm talking about, but that's a good rule.
If you cannot pronounce it,
Oh,
don't
that's
get
right.
it.
Yeah.
Or if you don't have enough
Ingredient, oh, Time?
time
oh, I was
to
gonna say.
read
If
the label.
I was gonna say if
Oh.
the more, yeah, I was gonna say if there's too many ingredients, don't get it.
There you go. There you go. You almost got half a ticket there.
She needs them all.
Yeah.
All right, good
And then I
deal.
still wouldn't win.
Oh, no, you didn't.
I'm just kidding.
You'd be okay. All right, so what I want to do next is I want to talk about heavy metal toxicity real quick. So you guys should have filled out that toxicity questionnaire for me. We're going to talk a little bit about cleanse versus detox. Does anybody remember the difference between cleanse and detox by any chance? What's the difference between a cleanse and a detox? Do you remember? I will
The
be
detox has to get the metals out, right?
about
And it
metals,
goes
chemicals.
deeper and,
Mhm.
and the liver and the other is,
So what does a cleanse really work on? Cleanse works on your
liver and the metals?
liver and the bowel on a
Oh.
cleanse. Heavy metal works on the liver and then like chemicals that go all
Heavy
over in your body. Heavy metals,
Okay.
specifically prescription drug
The
residues. things
detox.
like that.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Detox does that.
Yes, exactly. So let me see here.
Sheesh.
Okay. Oh, we guess we could start from the front beginning. Okay, so toxicity is a generational pandemic. There are mainly 3 different toxins in the form of heavy metals that are really affecting our current society. And in fact, they affect us 4 generations deep. And that's where we really need to understand that even though we may be living in, like the children growing up right now are not in a lead exposed society, their moms or their grandparents may have been exposed to lead, and it's actually generational. So we need to look at heavy metal toxicity, not just from a standpoint of where you and yourself have been at, what you've been exposed to, but what your ancestry line has been exposed to. Now, this is actually a full class, and you guys have remembered me talking about I'm going to be doing an extended class after this one, an advanced class. This is one of the subjects I'm going to give option to, is going over heavy metal. So I'm just going to go over it kind of real briefly tonight, but I want to make sure that it's introduced to you guys because I think it's really important as we wrap up toxicity from last week that you understand this as well. So our 3 main ones that we're mostly concerned about are going to be lead, mercury, and glyphosate. So let's talk about real quick from womb to tomb. Embryos are exposed to as many as 287 toxins, and 180 of those are known to cause cancer. Mothers are your #1 source for toxicity. When you're in their body for 9 months or somewhere around that time, your exposure to all the chemicals that they've been exposed to are now within your blood and within your DNA. And so that is something very large to think about when we think about our own health and how far it may go back if we've had certain issues going on. Cancer rates in children have risen 67.1% just since 1950. Isn't that crazy? So lead is one of the ones that we really want to make sure that we're taking a look at. Of course, the lead generation, our parents and most of us grew up in the lead generation, but it affects 4 generations 2 ways. The physical way, from mom to baby, and an epigenetic, which is when a gene is turned on. A lot of your heavy metals, and especially lead, literally have a gene when they're in high concentrations in your body that turns on a gene that is not supposed to be turned on, but gets turned on like a light switch in your body when there's high exposure. And what it does is it opens up your body to be more susceptible to disease and other issues, especially related to heavy metal toxicity. Okay? So that's something we need to think about. It's not just from mom to baby, but it's something where if you get enough of it, you get a gene that gets turned on. And until that gene gets turned off, you may deal with all sorts of different things, such as lead and violent crimes. There's been studies where they've actually seen where people have had high amounts of lead and they've actually been more prone to violent crimes. Obesity and lead is another really big one. They had a longitudinal study of chronic lead exposure and physical growth in Boston children. The results suggest that chronic lead exposure in childhood may result in obesity that persists into adulthood. So a lot of these children that are running around that are obese, it may not be so much a bunch of corn syrup. It could also be the fact that they've got lead running through their system because of epigenetics and also because of their mom and baby relationship going on. Lead, gut bacteria, and weight gain. Early life exposure to lead causes a long-lasting impact on gut microbiome. The change of the gut microbiome may partially contribute to the increased body weight in adult life. So lead in and of itself will actually impact our gut microbiome. And I know none of us are out there sucking on a lead bar, but it's something that's in us that we need to address, and we need to look at that from an exposure standpoint. The mercury generation. Mercury is in everything. I did a lot of research on mercury back in the day when I was being diagnosed with MS, or at least they thought I had MS, because mercury is highly linked to MS. And just to kind of give you a little parallel real quick, to understand what heavy metals do in the body. So let's look at an electrical circuit or electrical wire. So when you have an electrical wire, that wire is covered by a sheath, right? It's covered by some kind of a buffer that's going to ground that wire, right? Our electrical system, our nervous system is the same way. Our nerves are electrical wiring in our body. And whoops, I keep tapping it because I want to make sure it doesn't go bye-bye. And there, I messed it up. Okay, what do I need to do? There we go, mercury generation. So basically what is it? Thank you very much. See, I learned lots from you, Asher. So what I'm talking about now is the nerves themselves have a sheath around them in our bodies. It's called a myelin sheath. And this myelin sheath is made of a substance called lecithin. And anyway, when that lecithin, that myelin sheath gets worn down from exposure to whatever toxicity may be in the body, what it does is it leaves those wires exposed. So now let's put a metal up against that wire. Tell me what happens.
Sure.
You get a short, you get a spark, right? And that's what heavy metals in our body can do to our electrical system, our nervous system as well. That's one of the reasons why they link mercury and MS together, because it's a nerve-related issue. Parkinson's is the same way. A lot of our autoimmune diseases have some kind of a neuropathy. All of those issues are related to the nerves, and heavy metals can be a big part of that. Now, mercury is in everything. It's in toilet paper. It's in the lights above us. Yes, it's a sterilizer. It's in our immunizations. It's in a lot of the vaccinations and things that our children get. Mercury is everywhere because they've been using it for sterilization for a really super long time. But the biggest place you're going to see it is in the mercury amalgams in your teeth. If you've got silver in your teeth, every time you chew, you are literally releasing mercury into your system, because the fumes that come off of mercury infest your whole body. They don't come out. They literally go into your whole body. So every time you chew, you're getting exposed. Now the issue with mercury amalgams is it's not like you can just go to a dentist and take them out. Because of the residue that they leave, you literally have to go to a certified dentist, which is not easy to find. The one that I know that's closest to us right now is in Marble Falls, Texas. And they have a special way of actually removing those mercury amalgams to make sure that you don't swallow them, you don't inhale them, and you don't get more exposure. Now just think about if you actually swallow one of those fillings. That's kind of crazy too, right? So we've got a lot of mercury that is that we're exposed to and that we really need to pay attention to as we move towards optimal health. Another one, mother's dental amalgams increase child's exposure to mercury before and after birth. The mercury will go through the breast milk. Child's still getting it. Another study about the amount of mercury in aborted embryos and deceased infants corresponds to the number of amalgam fillings present in the mom. You're seeing a correlation with that. Mercury and obesity. I know you can't see this one, but they're actually talking about how obesity also can be a result of excessive mercury toxicity. Another one on mercury and obesity as well. You can see all the different things: high blood pressure, quality of life, cancer, heart disease, diabetes, infertility, gallstones, arthritis, all of this due to mercury levels being high. Diabetes and obesity as well. So we've got type 2. The human studies show risk of type 2 diabetes, metabolic syndrome, insulin-dependent diabetes, autoimmunity, insulin resistance, higher body mass index, as well as more complications in people with diabetes. And this is all due to mercury. And of course, animal studies show that heavy metals cause high blood glucose, beta cell death and dysfunction, higher body weight, and autoimmunity. Mercury symptoms, I'm not going to go through all of those, but I've got all this information that we'll be able to go over later on. But this is a really good item to go over if you think you may be heavily exposed to mercury. Did you get a flu shot? If you get a flu shot, guess what you're getting? Mercury. It's in the flu shots. You know, not to mention the validity of the flu shot in and of itself, but that's what you're getting. Glyphosate makes it all worse. Can anybody tell me what glyphosate is?
Roundup.
Roundup. Now this little bugger is the one that really turns on the genes and makes things worse. Roundup has only been around since the 90s, and I'm going to show you a little chart on that real quick in a little bit. But glyphosate, being around since the 90s, when you have heavy metals in your body already, glyphosate, what it does is it supercharges those heavy metals. It gives it a supercharge. So you may have a low level or a moderate level of heavy metal toxicity, not really bothering you, but then you start eating fruits and vegetables or foods that have been exposed to glyphosate, Roundup, and then that glyphosate literally makes those heavy metals supercharged. And it's the children that I'm concerned about here, because it's our children and our grandchildren that are mostly exposed to this right now. Mostly exposed to this. The glyphosate is nasty stuff. Glyphosate makes both mercury and aluminum more toxic. There's a new problem for the generation. Dementia and glyphosate. Look at that. What did I say? 1990s? This is where we were at in 1993 with dementia. And now look where we're at in 2009. This one right here is on the number of children with autism and the glyphosate reality. So here we are, 1991, 93, 95, all the way to 2009. Look how autism has increased right along with glyphosate being more and more of a toxin in our environments.
That Bayer wishing they didn't want to buy Monsanto.
Right?
That's why Monsanto sold out.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, my whole point being is we really need to pay attention to heavy metal toxicity, because I know we talked a lot about the toxicity we eat, we breathe, the toxicity that we drink. We just got to remember that it comes from all different places. It can even come from our moms. It can be generational as well. It can be from epigenetics. It can be from several different factors that are taking place. So I want to be sure as we're moving forward that everybody here has a really great understanding of heavy metal toxicity and what they can do about it. Of course, last week we talked about the Ultrabiome DTX as a detox. And Ultrabiome DTX, I love this product. I'm so excited about it, as I mentioned last week. But this specifically helps with heavy metal detoxing. It specifically works like a magnet to heavy metals. So if you've got a high exposure to heavy metals and you're wanting to pull them out, when you put this in, this literally connects to those heavy metals like a magnet and pulls them out of the body. And it's one of the best heavy metal detoxes you're going to find out there. So I'm really excited about having that available to us. Another thing that can be done is something called heavy metal detox. This has been around with Nature Sunshine for quite some time. You take one in the morning and one at night. But it's all a host of different herbs, and like cilantro leaf and apple fruit pectin and magnesium citrate, kelp leaf. All these things are known to attach to heavy metals and pull them out of the body. So this is another way to reduce your heavy metal exposure. And by the way, heavy metals and candida, fungus, parasites, all those guys hang in the same crowd. All those guys hang in the same crowd. Liquid chlorophyll is also another way to help you relieve yourself of heavy metals. Just by doing a little bit of this every day, not only are you going to increase the alkalinity of your blood, help your kidneys and your liver and your skin, but you're literally going to help start drawing heavy metals out of your body. Greens are one of the best things you can do for heavy metals. The greener it is, the darker deep green it is, the better it is for relieving heavy metals. Cilantro is actually the best food out there. Yeah.
He hates it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it tastes like soap to him.
That's really interesting.
There's like, what's the percentage? And there's a small percentage of people that fresh cilantro tastes like salt or soap.
So
Really? That's
Yeah.
interesting. I wonder if it has anything to do with the heavy metal toxicity. Like for instance, one of my boys, I know he's definitely got a lot of exposure to heavy metals, right?
Mhm.
When he takes this, he throws up.
Oh, wow.
So I had to do this for him because what's happening is his body is so reactive to it that when he takes it, it just wants to pull out, basically is what it does. So I can't get him to take the Ultrabiome DTX. We're gonna do a heavy metal detox. But that's my question. I wonder if that has anything to do with that. That would be a really interesting thing to peek into and see what kind of results.
We'll have to put you on that and then make you eat cilantro.
Oh,
Maybe do detox for a year, then try cilantro.
There you go, there you go. Cilantro, greens, your algae, like your spirulina, your chlorella, your kelp, I mentioned that was in the heavy metal detox. All of those will help with heavy metal detox as well. And vitamin C also. Of course, you gotta take vitamin C quite a big amount, but it will help with heavy metal detox as well. All right, so the next question I wanna have for people is cleansing versus detoxing. So I gave you guys, most everybody here, an idea what you needed to do, whether you needed to cleanse or detox first. Let me tell you another reason why we always have to take a real good look at that. When you're doing a detox, we want to make sure that whatever we're pulling out, that magnet is attracting to it, is coming out. If you don't eliminate on a regular basis, at least once a day to twice a day, you don't want to start off with a detox. Because you may be going through the process of attracting all those heavy metals and pulling them together, but if they have no exit plan, the pipes aren't clear, it's just recirculating those things, okay? So that's one of the reasons why I really like to take a look at your guys' assessments and questionnaires to make sure we get you doing the right thing first. So if you want to do a DTX and you have a sluggish intestinal system or bowel eliminations, you can always take LBS, Gentle Move, and some other laxative type herbal laxatives that are non-addictive to help keep things moving. I know when I first started I'm more sluggish, I've told you guys that before. Ultra Body DTX, when I first started taking it, I had to get on LBS for about a week to get it regulated because I was just all over the place and would skip 2 or 3 days and it was like, okay, I ain't having this. And so once my body got used to it and things started coming out on a regular basis, now I don't have to take any supplementation to help with that. But that's one of the reasons why we need to take a look at that first. So if you're not eliminating like you need to, you really need to do is cleanse first and then back it up with this and be prepared with your LBS or your Gentle Move. That make sense? Okay. So I got a couple more tickets to give out in case anybody's got a plan. So remember last week I told you guys I want you to be thinking about doing a cleanse or a detox. Now everybody knows what they need to do. Does anybody have a plan, a specific plan for doing a cleanse or a detox? And if so, which one and when? Rosa.
I was gonna buy the Ultra Biome because I also have a coupon for that.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'll wait until you look at the assessment to see if I need to do anything else before I do
Okay.
that. But as soon as I can, I want to
But your
start
plan
that.
is the Ultra Biome DTX. Okay, great. Anybody else have a plan for cleansing? Or detoxing?
I think I have that Clean Start regular at home, so
Yeah,
I'm gonna maybe get on that.
that would be a great idea. As soon as this clears up a little bit,
Uh-huh.
start it.
Start it? Okay.
Yeah, start it. Yeah. Exactly, because I think you'll see a big difference in your numbers too by doing that.
Okay.
But everybody needs to have a plan sometime during this 9-week time period to do either a detox or a cleanse or both. You need to. Just because that's gonna help your numbers get better, you're gonna feel a lot better, energy's gonna be higher, all sorts of good things are gonna come from that. So we definitely wanna shoot towards that.
So what does this have to do with that?
So right now your immune system in your gut is working really hard to help what's going on up here.
Mhm.
And so if we still go and try and start cleansing it, because right now you're doing a lot of like acute herbs. You're taking herbs specifically to clear up the mucus, the drainage, things that are going on.
Mhm.
So we don't want to ask the body to do everything at the same time.
Okay.
When we look at basic herbalism, we look at A, B, C, plus D. A being activators, which are your enzymes. B being builders, so like if you have a weak liver, we're going to take something for your liver. C would be cleanse, and D would be direct aids. Generally, we don't cleanse and do anything else at the same time unless it's activators, because activators help us with cleansing. Now on the In.Form program, you'll still take your In.Form supplements. You'll just make sure when you do those, you'll do those away from the cleanse or away from the detox. You would never want to take your probiotic or your berberine or anything like that along with DTX or the Clean Start or the Tile Heat Cleanse. You'd want to make sure you do those according to my cleansing instructions I gave you last week. It's very, very important you follow my cleansing instructions and you not necessarily the box, because sometimes the box, you know, after 20 years of experience with them, I've seen it work better a little bit differently. Okay, so that's what we need to know on the cleanses and taking our supplements. But that would be a long answer to your short question. So you know, right now you're direct aiding. You're giving direct aid, right, to your respiratory system.
Okay.
We don't want to combine that with cleansing.
Okay.
It's just too much for the body to handle. I mean, it could. I'm not saying it's too much. Just, you know.
Well, yeah.
I'm just saying that you know, to get the most out of what you're doing
Yeah.
and to keep you healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, let it clear this up first and then
Yes.
work on the other.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Exactly.
I
All
can
right.
multitask, but not that great.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Exactly. Okay. All right. So let's go to module number 5, which is going to be page number 39 in our In.Form participant manuals. And before I get into that, I want to make sure that we're all understanding something from the very beginning that we talked about is these comparison charts. As I've said before, IN.Form is a clinically studied trial program, and we've had excellent results with specific things like cholesterol, blood pressure, triglycerides, all of those things coming down. And that's one of the reasons why this module tonight is so important in understanding. If you have any issues with blood pressure or cholesterol or triglycerides or anything along that line, you got to realize that this program can take care of that for you, but it needs to be along with the whole thing that we're doing. The nutrition plan has to be set in place. The cardio kit has to be set in place. All these things have to be set in place for these numbers to come in to check where they need to go. But that's why we're talking about this tonight, so we can make sure everybody feels really, really good about that. So as we move to page, did I say page 46?
I said 39.
39, okay. I saw 46 somewhere. I don't know where I saw that. Okay, so in addition to the effects of weight loss and a balanced microbiome, our cardiovascular system stands the most to gain from our efforts. Right now, our mortality rates for men, the number one killer of men is cardiovascular disease, some type of cardiovascular event for men. For women at menopausal age or beyond, it is now the number one killer for women as well. So we're looking at something here that is widespread. I mean, how many people do you know have had a heart attack and they were under 50? I know lots of people who have, and it's crazy when you think about that. We had a participant last time around, he was in his 30s. I mean, so it's happening very, very frequently. So we really want to make sure that we're understanding how to repair our heart health. We go to page 40, it talks about the heart of the matter. Did I give you a manual?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Oh, wait, can I give you one? The heart of the matter. The thing that we're talking about here is more and more science is proving that diets high in fiber, fermented vegetables, prebiotic foods may reduce blood pressure, heart rate, and cholesterol. And they can also induce weight loss and decrease those toxin-producing bacteria that are in our gut, which was what we're working on. But on the other hand, a diet high in animal fats and protein has been shown to limit the diversity of our gut bacteria, which can wreak havoc on our cardiovascular system. So we need nutrients from plant-based diets combined with prebiotics and probiotics that can help make our gut's ecosystem whole. We need to have that diversity, and this is why plants and getting as many plant proteins in as you can is so beneficial, because we can increase the gut bacteria profile and have better immunity, sleep better, and of course have better cardiovascular systems as well. So the history of our heart. So the thing that they're talking about here is that 100 years ago, just a little over 100 years ago, where do we all get our food from?
We grew it.
The what?
We grew it.
You grew it. You got it from your own garden, your neighbor's garden, your community garden. You didn't go to Jumbo's or to United or to Walmart, Super Walmart, right? None of us did that. Our foods have dramatically changed since just a little over 100 years ago, and that's one of the reasons why our health has gotten so much weaker. It's just because of that simple fact. Basically, by the 1950s, we had food shortages, mainly due to world wars. And that created a need to create foods that had longer shelf life. But the problem when you start making a longer shelf life with a food, you start voiding it of its nutrients. In order for it to last and not just putrefy or go moldy before a good time, I mean, you have to remove vital nutrients. You've got to remove enzymes, omegas, your 3s and your 6s. You've got to remove these things that help keep that food really nutritionally high. And then when we start removing that, then we end up having food that has less nutrition for us. And it's not as wholesome as it was when it was originally given to us. So removing those plant nutrients causes them to spoil. Then what we do is we replace it with cheaper, empty ingredients. And on top of that, did you know that right now the FDA rules that tell you like how much vitamin C is in an orange is not based on an orange that was grew last month. It's based on an orange that was in the 1950s. So on top of all of it, if we want to try and look at, okay, what kind of food can I eat to get this nutrient, this vitamin A or whatever, and we're thinking we're going to get X amount for the average apple, right? It's not the same anymore. It has drastically changed in the last 70 years. So on top of that, the information we're receiving is not even correct with where we're at currently with the nutrition in our food. The next issue we had is baby boomers. So then baby boomers came in, right? And they were taught to eat everything on your plate. You don't leave a thing on your plate. Now, I'm not a baby boomer, but I'm the child of a baby boomer. And if I left anything on my plate, I got a lecture. I was always hearing about the children in Africa that were starving. And I'm like, what children in Africa are starving? What does that have anything to do with me? But it was all to do with the fact that I needed to eat everything on my plate. So now what's happened is we're programmed, right, to eat everything that's on our plate. And if we don't, it's wasteful because somebody somewhere doesn't have what you have. So you better be thankful and eat it all. In addition to that, our plates have gotten bigger. So now we've gone from really good, wholesome foods grown in our own garden without chemicals, without being stripped of nutrients, to foods that are now kind of frankenfoods in a kind of sort of way, right? They don't have all the nutrients. They last way longer than what they should. You know, all they do is maybe crinkle up and dehydrate a little bit. And that's kind of weird, right? And now we're eating everything that we're supposed to eat, and now our plates are bigger. So you see the picture of what's happened over the last 100, 120 years? So now we're in a state of eating a lot of food and getting very little nutrients for it. And our bodies are still hungry. Our bodies are still starving because they're not getting what they need.
Can I add one more thing to
Add
the
it.
list? The soil
Thank you.
is depleted.
The soil is depleted from being overworked, not being rotated properly, having all the chemicals and fertilizers and everything else that they put on the soil on top of all of it. Yeah.
Their
Yeah, so-
biome is not the same.
No, it's just not even the same. So, needless to say, overeating the wrong kinds of foods can be disastrous for our heart health. We can experience dramatic improvements in our metabolic age and in support of our cardiovascular system if we just work toward plant-based foods, organic or sustainably grown or grown out of our own garden or somebody we know, and make sure our food proportions are within check. Okay? So let's go ahead and move on to page number 41. Now, Shireen is going to talk a little bit on cholesterol in her portion of her video tonight, so I'm going to touch on it to make sure we all have a really great understanding of cholesterol, because that is another misnomer that's out there sometimes that we don't get a full picture on. Cholesterol is not a bad thing, and in fact, you make more cholesterol in your body than you will ever eat. You primarily make all the cholesterol. It's not that egg that you're concerned about or some other little food that you're concerned about. Those are not going to push you over the edge on cholesterol. It's your own body that's going to produce more cholesterol than what you need, okay? So what we need to realize too is that our cholesterol is primarily made at night while we're sleeping. Your liver does that while you're sleeping at night. And that's why when we talk about this cardio kit and why we take it at night, that's one of the reasons why it's so strategic, is to take it at night because of the support of that cholesterol production. So a lot of people go to the doctor and they find out their cholesterol is high. And the problem is they base that, if you two could stop, I'd appreciate it, thank you. So, testing their limits.
Sorry, Mom.
All right, reset. So you look at the total cholesterol number, when in reality what we need to do is we need to look at the breakdown of cholesterol. When we look at that total cholesterol number, that is not the full picture of what's going on in our body. We have three other numbers that comprise that big number. We've got the HDL, which is your high density lipoproteins, which is considered your good cholesterol. You've got your low density lipoproteins, which are considered your bad cholesterol. And then you've got your VLDL, your very low density lipoproteins, which you usually don't talk a whole lot about, but it's more related to your triglycerides and the sugary fats in your system is what those are related to. So what we're concerned about when we see those cholesterol numbers is we're concerned about seeing the breakdown, okay? Now, the bad cholesterols, quote unquote, LDL, are very important for cell membrane health, okay? There's a reason why they go and they hang out in the arteries and the veins. They do a good job there. But the problem is they also need to be removed at the same time. So the HDLs, the high density lipoproteins, come in and move out the excess of the LDLs. Now, if you have way too many LDLs and not enough HDLs, you got a problem. even if your cholesterol number is only 150, but yet your HDLs are only 20, that's not good. You can also have a cholesterol of 275, which we all know that's high, right? 275, but yet your good cholesterol, your HDL is at 100. You're golden, you're good. So we need to remember that those numbers is not all what it seems and not what all we're told. We need to look at the breakdown of those as we move forward, okay? Any questions on that? Yes?
We saw a show, remember that, a couple of years ago? And that one doctor said that the cholesterol worry is really a big farce.
Mm-hmm.
Because said, like in burn victims, said they feed them
Cholesterol.
cholesterol,
Yes.
eggs,
Mm-hmm.
you know, a dozen eggs a day.
Yep, to feed the membranes and to feed the
And he said
tissues,
he'd
yeah.
been in practice for like 20 years or something like that, and he had people that had cholesterol of 600, and he said they were perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a client like that in Austin, Texas. She's a little bitty thing and her cholesterol is crazy high, the totality of it, but the breakdown is beautiful. You know? And so, I mean, you would never think, looking at her, she'd have high cholesterol. But in reality, it's the breakdown that's doing so good for her. But yeah, exactly. Cholesterol has been really hyped up due to the concern about cardiovascular disease, those mortality rates I gave you earlier, and also the pharmaceutical companies, because statin drugs are a big, big money
Well, that
pit.
doctor said the reason it's such a big deal is because of the salt.
Yeah,
And he
Table salt.
said the table salt, the reason it sparkles is they grind glass up and put it in with the salt to make it sparkle.
that's interesting. I hadn't heard
More
So
that.
he said when you eat
Yeah.
a whole lot of salt, it goes through your veins and
Yeah.
the glass doesn't break down, but it cuts your arteries from the inside, and then the cholesterol is to repair that,
Yeah,
or it's to fill in that
to fill in the membranes, yeah.
membrane,
Yeah.
so you put more salt in it, and then that's why you have these big, you know, blocked arteries and
Plaque
stuff, because
buildup.
it just
Yeah.
keeps throwing the cholesterol.
Yeah, because it needs it for the repairing. Interesting. Great information, George. Nice job. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't even remember that doctor.
That's great information. All right.
Take it.
So let's go ahead and move on with understanding oxidization. Now, the other thing that we need to remember is everything oxidizes. If you're exposed to oxygen, you oxidize. Now, of course, we've got oxygen coming in, right? We breathe it in, it goes into our lungs, it goes to the pulmonary system, goes into our heart, and goes to all of our cells, all of our tissues, because it all needs oxygen. But the byproduct of oxygen is going to be oxidization. And this happens a lot with LDL. In fact, the corrosive effect of oxygen has atoms and molecules called oxidization. And what these do is they remove electrons. And so when we remove electrons, what we end up with is we end up with a defunct cell. We went in with a cell that's not completely whole. And so it's called, what it does is it's called a free radical. And this free radical then goes around and searches for somebody to steal an electron from, and therefore monopolizes all your other cells. And all of a sudden we've got all these free radicals going on, and of course this is a dangerous byproduct. There's electronically unstable molecules can snatch electrons, and this electron process grabbing is actually called oxidation. So the thing we need to have for free radicals is something called antioxidants. So antioxidants actually go in and they neutralize free radicals and help get rid of them. But the problem is our foods have been adulterated for so long with irradiation and all the other processes that we were just talking about, we don't get the antioxidants that we need. A few years ago, about 10 years ago, I was looking into this particular company that was really big on antioxidants, and they were, selling the antioxidants, and in the liquid bottles, you'll see the dark purplish and red, deep-colored vegetables and fruits that are all blended up, mangosteen and things like that, and that's very high in antioxidants. And they were doing antioxidant therapy basically with people with this particular product, and they were seeing tremendous results, especially with children, Because A, sometimes it's hard to get your children to eat fruits and vegetables, and B, when they were eating them, they weren't getting the amount of antioxidants that they needed to combat the naturally occurring free radicals from oxidation. So we really need to make sure that our antioxidants are high, and that's the other reason why we need to eat deep colored fruits and vegetables to get those antioxidants. Of course, blueberries is one of your best antioxidants that you can get that's easy to get. Pomegranate's another really good one as well. But blueberries are accessible all the time, so that's a wonderful thing. The other reason I bring this up is because bergamot fruit is one of the highest antioxidants that you can get from a supplemental standpoint. And it goes into the cardiovascular system and specifically really helps with those free radicals. That is actually in your cardio XLDL, which is in these 2 little capsules that you take at night. So you're getting a major antioxidant in the cardio XLDL to help with those free radicals that want to go in and scavenge your good healthy cells and monopolize them. So that's something to really keep a thought process on. The other thing is, I got a ticket for somebody who knows this answer. The other thing that our cardio XLDL has in it that's so excellent for us is something called L-arginine. Now, can anybody tell me the classification of L-arginine? What is L-arginine?
It has to do with protein.
Well, yeah, because it is. It's a breakdown of protein.
Okay.
Yeah! Exactly. Remember,
Essential acid. Isn't
There it
essential
is,
acid?
essential fatty acid. That's what I was trying to
well,
think
no, not
of.
essential fatty acids. Don't. It's
That's why I was thinking that she was.
yeah. It's a protein.
Oh,
So we
it's
got
a
our protein, and we got all of our little chains of amino acids that perform all those things in our body. We talked about that last week, right?
Mhm.
Is that last week? No,
Week
week 2.
Oh.
Yeah, week 4 is when it's supposed to be. But we talked about week 2. Yeah, that's what we talked about. I'm all mixed up with this change. Okay, so L-arginine is specifically known for the heart muscle. L-arginine actually feeds the heart muscle and helps it be stronger. So that's the other thing that we actually have in our cardio XLDL that's in that cardio pack. L-arginine is used to produce nitric oxide. Nitric oxide plays a critical role in maintaining strong blood vessels, which means it keeps them flexible, keeps them dilated, providing oxygen and nutrients across the board. And we're going to talk about another product called Rejuvenate before we're done here, which also provides a lot of nitric oxide that's been released since this program. Yes, Rosa?
Uh-oh. Never mind.
All right.
Oh, dear.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and give you the information on Rejuvenate right now because I think this is a proper time for us to talk about it. So there's a sheet on Rejuvenate. Please take one. Now this actually, Rejuvenate actually goes in conjunction with the Ultrabiome DTX. But Rejuvenate specifically is a nitric oxide builder provider. And one of your main foods that's full of nitric oxide is red beets. One of these little packets actually has the equivalent of about 5 beets and half a watermelon in it. And pomegranate for antioxidants. Yes. Rejuvenate is excellent at opening up the blood vessels and the veins, allowing more oxygen and nutrients to get through. That's one of the reasons why we're having so much success with people sleeping better, people being able to move around better, more energy, and it's a different kind of energy. It's not like a caffeine energy. It's a more like a, okay, normally I get this much done, but I have enough energy tonight. I'm going to get a little bit more done. But it doesn't interfere with you sleeping. You can still go to sleep, even if you feel like it type of thing. We had somebody else who was taking it who had RA, rheumatoid arthritis, after 3 days. They weren't able to pick up their arm above their shoulder, and after 3 days, they're actually able to move their arm above their shoulder. I have people helping them with their legs, just more circulation of the legs and the extremities. But there's a whole host of things you can look on here that it works for, but I really love the Rejuvenate. It's something I do every day. I actually put mine in my protein shake every morning with my cherries and stuff. So make sure y'all take a sample of this.
That's a good idea.
Yes.
Because I
Yes.
drank it today.
Yeah. And
I mean, I don't know. The flavor's okay,
yeah,
but it's not something I would get real tired of it quick.
yeah, yeah. I put it in my smoothie. In fact, I miss it now when it's not in my smoothie. It provides this nice little berry kick that's unique. Yeah.
So,
and I
but
really
it
like
will help you with sleeping.
It will help you with sleeping, yes. Yes, because it's providing more oxygen to the brain, right?
Okay.
That's the other thing about Rejuvenate. It helps to cross the blood-brain barrier. It's very difficult to do. And when you take it in conjunction with Ultrabiome DTX, this works like the magnet. This opens everything up. So this opens everything up to stir it all up to make sure you can get attached to it with the Ultrabiome DTX, and it goes on out. So great combination.
I wish I would've bought that.
What?
I need to give you a ticket back
Why?
because I was confused. The Ultrabiome DTX is not what I was wanting to get tonight. The Rejuvenate was because I had that 20%
All right.
off.
I'm not going to dig through there and find the right number.
Oh, okay.
So if that number
You win
wins,
with that one.
it's mutiny.
Y'all can duke it out after we're done with the video, okay? So Rejuvenate is something else that I highly, highly recommend for people to do. We've had really good success with it. So let's move on to fats. So let's talk about fats real quick. We've been taught to have a negative thought about fats. So Jerry Ann, when I say the word fat, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Well, right now, since I've had this class, it's avocados.
Great! Great. Now before the class, what would it have been?
Cake.
Don't eat it.
Don't eat it. Okay? Okay?
Yes.
Rosa, what's the first thing you think of when you hear the word fat?
She took my avocado, but the next is nuts.
Nuts. Okay. All right. Christy, what about when you hear the word fat?
Crisco.
Crisco! Good one. Good one. What about you, George? First thing you think of when you hear the word fat?
Ice cream.
Ice cream?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
So, think some other answers we had last night was greasy. When they thought of the word fat, they thought greasy. Some people just thought about actual this, you know. So when we say eat healthy fat, sometimes that can be like a little twitch in our brain that goes, huh, what? You know, so we really need to make sure that we work on undoing that twitch and understand that fats are really super important for our bodies. In fact, the word fat makes us think a lot of times too of our visceral fat, but healthy fats are vital to our cardiovascular system, and they're called essential fatty acids. Essential fatty acids meaning that we have to eat them. Our body does not make them. Essential fatty acids are really good also for our hormones. We need them for our hormones, to balance our hormones. We need them for our skin to be soft and have a strong barrier to it. We need them for our joints, so our joints can move around better. Fats actually carry a lot of nutrients in our bodies for us. It's amazing how much we need fats for. Now the thing is that we get a lot of omega-6s in our diets and our nutritional plan really easy, but we don't get a lot of omega-3s. Omega-3s primarily are in your fish and a few plant sources, which I'm going to give you a handout on tonight so you can get a better idea of that. But we really want to look towards the omega-3s. The omega-3s specifically are anti-inflammatory, where if you get way too many omega-6s, it actually can be an inflammatory issue. So we need to have a good balance of omega-3s to omega-6s. The best thing to do is to concentrate on getting in as many omega-3s as you can, because probably naturally you'll get the 6s in as you go. Healthy fats, when eaten properly, will curb sugar and carbohydrate cravings. Literally, when you eat fat, like a half of an avocado with your meal, it'll be easier for you to go longer without eating, and you may not crave sugars nearly as much, because fats help us with that satiety where we don't feel like we need something sugary. Okay, that's something that I learned a lot when I was doing some training that I was doing way back when. The other thing that we need to realize is that when we look at fat that's in our body, what does it do? What is fat on our hips, on our thighs, on our organs, what does it do?
Causes them to not be able to function. You mean excessive, or
Well, what
are you talking
function
about
does
we
it
just
have?
need fat?
What function?
Cushion?
Yeah. Yes, that's true.
Protection?
That could be true. The fats that hang out don't do anything.
Oh.
They're just stored. They're in storage. They're in storage. They're not doing anything, right? And the only way to move them is two ways. Exercise or eat them up. And the only way to eat them up is to eat healthy fats. Healthy fats, especially in avocado, when we're talking about something that hasn't been cooked, has something in it called enzymes, right? And when you take an enzyme, specifically from fats, it's going to go in and it's going to break down and eat up all these bad fats. So we need good fats to break down bad fats. So it's not like we want to get rid of fat and we stay away from fat, right? We stay away from the avocado, we stay away from the olive oil, we stay away from the olives, right? We don't do that because we need those good healthy fats to break down bad fats. In addition to all the other things I just mentioned with the cardiovascular system and our joints and our hormones, you got to have good fats to break down bad fats. That's how that works. You got to stimulate them, you got to massage them. And the best way to do that is exercise and eating good, healthy fats. How many fats a day are we supposed to have on our program? How many fats? 5, exactly. 5 fats per day is what we need to be having. If you go over 5 fats, it'll be one of the last things I complain about. And just as a remembrance, nuts on our program are protein, but they also have the side benefit of some extra fats, and that's okay. Some other notes that I have here, prevention of arthritis, use for anti-inflammatory. Oh, so when I work with people one-on-one and they ask me, okay, Shar, I only really want to take my basic supplements, what do I have to have? What do I have to have? I'm going to tell them a good multivitamin, I'm going to tell them an enzyme, and then I'm going to tell them an essential fatty acid. That is one of my top 3 picks that I think everybody should be taking on a regular basis from a good source to be sure they're getting what they need. Because it is difficult to get those good healthy fats sometimes, okay? All right, yes ma'am.
And if we're doing like the metabolic aid, or the protein powder, does that have some of those in it also?
The protein powder, not so much fat, no.
Okay.
No, you're primarily getting your essential fatty acids in here, which we're gonna talk a little bit more when we get to this pack at the end of this module. So I'm handing out a handout here on healthy fats. And I got a couple things for you to cross off, a couple things for you to add to it. But this is just going to give you a little bit more of a guideline of where you can get some healthy fats and how they fit into it. At the bottom is the omega-3s that are plant-based, so you definitely want to be focused on those. But on the top, we've got our monosaturated fats. We've got our olive oil, peanut oil, cross that out because I would like for you to stay away from peanut oil as much as possible. It is an omega-6, and too much peanut oil can cause excitotoxicity as well as inflammatory responses. We got sesame oil, we got walnut oil, flaxseed oil, coconut oil, add hemp seed oil, and add avocado oil. Hemp seed oil and avocado oil. You can see here your nuts, they've got them on here as a fat, but I just talked about that, so we're clear there. Seeds, you need to add at the bottom of seeds, hemp seed hearts, or hemp seeds. You don't have to do the hearts, but I like to do the hearts, but hemp seed hearts, which would be about 1 tablespoon for a serving.
And do they have 3s and 6s?
3s and 6s, they're one of the perfect foods. They're one of the perfect foods. And then your butters, you've got almond butter, cashew butter, peanut butter. Now when I buy peanut butter, especially for the children, I get the one that's made by Earth Balance. It's in the blue container, and it has coconut oil instead of peanut oil. So they take the peanuts and they mix it with coconut oil, so we're getting the balance and the good stuff from coconut oil specifically, okay? I highly recommend that for children because children have a tendency to go through a lot of peanut butter, especially if you're in my house. Avocados, black olives, green olives, or other foods that you can do. And of course, looking at the omega-3s at the bottom, we want to make sure that we add on the right-hand side those hemp seed hearts again, and cross off peanuts. But that will give you an idea of where you can go for some more omega-3s, especially if you're not a fish eater. Now, speaking of fish, when you do eat fish, the fish that has the highest concentrations of healthy fat in it is going to be your tunas, your salmons, okay? I mean, your cod is still fine. Tilapia, I would really stay away from tilapia. Tilapia is really, it's farm raised. They feed it corn, they feed it all sorts of things that are not healthy. It's a good tasting fish for the most part, but really it's not treated right unless you get it sustainably grown, or sustainably raised rather. The other thing with fish, you need to really make sure that you're sticking with wild caught sources. Wild caught sources are extremely important because wild caught sources are not going to be fed GMO corn. A lot of your salmon, farm-raised salmon farms are feeding it GMO corn to fatten it up. There's even some places that will wild catch it alive, keep it for 2 weeks, feed it corn, and then send it out. So be really careful with your fish if you can.
How would you find out, like, say, if you bought fresh fish at Jumbo? How would you find out? Would they tell you at the store, at the meat market? Would they tell you?
If it's farm raised or if it's wild
Yeah,
caught,
yeah.
it actually has it on the little signs.
Oh,
But ask them, because they also keep a really good, and sometimes they don't have it out, they keep a good frozen tuna steak in the back in little 6-ounce portions. We love our tuna steak. And it's wild caught. And occasionally they do have wild caught salmon.
What was the serving size on the hemp?
1 tablespoon.
Okay, and one other question, when you go on down here on your nuts and seeds,
Yes.
is almonds not for the omega-3s?
I think
Down here on
almonds
the
are more
bottom?
they're more the monosaturated. They're not as much of the omega-3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we were just curious.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, good question.
Okay.
I think that's what they mean by that. But be careful with your fish. Make sure that you're purchasing that correctly. Yes, ma'am.
and on chia seeds,
Yes.
what omega does that have in it?
It's gonna be the
Threes?
monosaturated. It's gonna be 3s and 6s, actually. Mine's in the refrigerator. It has 3s and 6s in it both.
Okay, one more.
Yes.
Okay, now down here on the omega-3s, it says almond oil,
Yes.
but almonds, as far as the
That's a
seeds.
really good question. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I pulled this off the internet, so I don't know why they would do that, but I think it'd be a great idea to maybe look into almonds specifically and see what the ratio is.
okay.
It's a really good idea.
Ratio.
Of omega-3s to omega-6s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
What does the ratio need to be so that it'll be balanced?
I don't remember off the top of my
Oh,
head,
okay,
Rosa.
that's
I
okay.
just know you want to have both in there if at all possible,
Uh-huh.
because it's so easy to just get 6 only opposed to
Right.
having to 3 to
He's gonna
balance
look
it out.
up almonds, aren't you?
Yeah, great. Okay,
Okay.
wonderful. Well, let's move on to page 43 real quick. But now we need to talk about trans fats. This was something that we really didn't talk about last week in the labels because we were saving it for this week. And of course, Rosa's already brought to our attention we need to stay away from hydrogenated oils and trans fats in our labels. So let's talk about why. First of all, hydrogenated oil or trans fats, basically they are a natural oil where they have changed the molecule structure of the oil itself to change it to make it more creamy and also to make it stable at room temperature. Crisco is your perfect example of hydrogenated oil. It's solid at room temperature no matter what it gets unless it gets really super hot, right? So when we look at that, what they do with hydrogenated oil is they're actually using it to make foods more creamy, more smooth tasting is what they're doing. But the thing is hydrogenated oils are not natural to our body. So when we intake hydrogenated oils, our body doesn't know what to do with it. It sees it as a chemical or as something foreign to the body. And so what it does is it goes into our arteries and veins and it joins the rest of the plaque and cholesterol and whatever else may be in there. And so it can really create a problem with our cardiovascular system. Oxidized LDL cholesterol then begins the formation of arterial plaque, resulting in a narrowing of blood flow, decreasing oxygen. All of this stuff is happening along with the hydrogenated oils. Trans fats is where we really need to put our focus. You need to make sure you look for the words partially hydrogenated as well as hydrogenated. Those are both basically the same thing, okay? And you need to be careful. Remember last week we talked about how you look at the front of the label on a particular product you might eat and it says 0 trans fats per serving. Well, if you ever see 0 trans fats per serving on the front of the label, I want you to put it down, okay? Because it's not following rules that are going to be helpful for us as we go on our health journeys. A lot of times that serving size will be 2 cookies. And the thing is that it can still have 0.03 grams of trans fats per serving, but the FDA considers it negligible. So therefore, since that per serving is underneath this threshold, they don't have to say it has trans fats. But if you're only a 2 cookie person, then you're okay. But most of us are not just a 2 cookie person. We're a 2 cookie, 4 cookie, 6 cookie. You don't just eat the whole thing and then nobody needs to know we even had it in the first place. Right?
Exactly.
Exactly. So then what happens to that 0.03% or trans fat, grams of trans fat? Now we've got trans fat in our system. Okay? That's why I want you to stay away from it. They play with that word and they play with the servings in order to get you to buy something and think it's healthy, and in reality, you probably aren't gonna follow the rules on the box anyways, okay? So the other thing you need to be careful of is a lot of times people, they're using hydrogenated fats to fry. All your fast foods places, most all of them use hydrogenated oils to fry in. We're gonna talk about that heat complex that goes with that in a moment. But I do, I'm challenging everybody. I challenged everybody last night. I'm challenging all 4 of you. You go out to eat somewhere this week, I want you to ask what kind of oil do they use to fry their foods in? What kind of oil do they use to fry their foods in? And they may say, oh, I don't know, I think it's peanut oil. Or, ask, was it hydrogenated or not? I just want you to do an experiment to see how many people in the restaurant business in Enid, Oklahoma know what hydrogenated fats are and know how to even look at it. But that's my challenge to everybody this week, is to find out who is using hydrogenated oil and who is not using hydrogenated oil. That's even a good thing too, okay? As we look down here, we've also got a few anti-inflammatory remarks. We've got, I'm gonna let you guys roll through those yourselves, but just foods and spices and things you can focus on to create less inflammation in your body. When you have less inflammation in your body, you've got better blood flow, you feel better, you have more energy, things are just running as they should, okay? So make sure that you take time to look that over. The next thing I want to cover is oils specifically. Oils specifically. So, there are certain oils that you need to be careful with in cooking, because oils, when they are heated, they actually turn into free radicals, and they actually are not full of nutrients as they used to be just when they're exposed to oils. They actually become toxic to our systems. So when you use olive oil for deep frying, that ain't gonna work. That olive oil, you've lost all the nutrition out of it, as well as become toxic. A lot of your fast food joints, they're using the same batch of oil a week at a time before they clean out their fryers. Can you imagine how toxic that oil is after a week of frying up whatever they're frying up? So we really need to make sure that we are paying attention to the heating of our oils. If you are going to high cook oils, if you're going to do some kind of light frying, you want to use avocado oil or grapeseed oil. Avocado oil or grapeseed oil, they have high flash points in them, so they are less resistant to, or they're more resistant rather, to heat, okay? Avocado oil and grapeseed oil. If you're gonna do some like really super light sauteing, you can use extra virgin olive oil or organic olive oil. You can do that, but you don't wanna cook it for very long. Coconut oil, I'm not a big fan of cooking with this at all unless it's just really, really quick and you're not really even making a bubble with it. But I am okay, like if you use it in baked goods. You can use this for baking. Yeah, you can do that.
That's what I used to fry.
Yeah,
Everything.
yeah. It's really sensitive to heat. It's really sensitive to heat. So I gotta make a little switch there. Also, you always want to buy cold pressed oils if at all possible, because sometimes they add heat to press the oils out. And what I say heat does, it manipulates the nutrients, right? So cold pressed oils is what we're going to go with. And if anything, the number one rule when you purchase oils, it has to be in a glass bottle. Has to be in a glass bottle if you are going to purchase oils, because oils are like fats, and fats hold on to toxins. And when you buy it in a plastic bottle, it literally leaches the toxicity from the plastic bottle, and it goes into the oil. So even though it's a little bit more expensive to do it that way, it's way worth it from your health standpoint. You're not getting olive oil with an extra side of plastic fossil fuel. Okay? So we want to do glass bottles. Any questions on oils or purchasing oils or anything before we move on? I think I covered all of it. Oh, there's one more thing, but ask questions if you have any. One more thing I want to bring up real quick. So when you have oil and you have water, how well do they mix together? They don't. So a lot of people who eat fried foods will say their stomach hurts afterwards, okay? our body's mainly comprised of water, especially if you're eating potatoes, which are high in water, French fries, and then you fry them, right? Then you're putting in your gut oil and water at the same time. And that can be one of the reasons why some people get gut aches when they eat fried foods, is simply because oil and water don't mix. And it can cause some havoc in your stomach. So it's not a good food combining thing to do either. Especially
Sure
tastes good from here to here. But yeah, so just something to kind of think about as we look at digestion overall. Okay, let me look at my one other little thing I want to bring up real quick. Eating poorly does not have instant side effects. Eating poorly does not have instant side effects. If it did, probably none of us would be here, right? But of all the years that I've been doing business, people come in, they all of a sudden have a health complaint. I start asking them what they've been eating, and they tell me, oh, I haven't changed. I've been eating the same thing. It can't be that. We need to realize that food in of itself has got basic poisons in it, and it is a buildup effect. If we knew right away that it was unhealthy for us, by our way our body responded, then we wouldn't eat it in the first place. But unfortunately, we don't have that response to our bodies, especially if we haven't cleaned up yet. So remembering that this is a sneak attack thing. This is something that sneaks up on you. So even if somebody's feeling great, they sleep well, got lots of energy, life's a dream, but they eat like crap, this is going to catch up with them sooner or later, especially in today's society with the glyphosates and with all of the other chemicals that we're looking at, okay? So we need to remember that as we move forward. All right, let's go to our cardio kit on page number 44. So this is your cardio kit, of course, that you take at night before you go to bed. We've already talked about the cardio XLDL and why we take that at night, because it really helps to modulate that cholesterol that's coming out, helps to balance that out most definitely. The green little tablets are your multivitamin, and it's not so necessary you take those at night, so for some reason you can't take all of these at the same time. You could take the green pills earlier in the day if you want to. But the cardio kit, we've seen so many things happen with it. People with, neuropathy issues going away, tingling in their extremities, cold hands, cold feet, the pins and needles thing. I used to have that when I get out of bed in the morning. It just felt like I was walking on pins and needles on the bottom of my feet until I walked to the bathroom and back. Then it kind of went away. But it was always like, ow, 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 And the cardio kit took care of that because you're getting more circulation to the extremities. The cardio XLDL, what it does, it works with the peripheral cardiovascular system. And what I mean by that is all these little tiny blood vessels and all these little veins that are tiny, 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 that go to the top of our skin and to the extreme of our extremities. And that's why it works so well. It's not just concentrating on the main arteries and veins. It's actually getting in there to the little guys because they need nutrients and they need oxygen also. Okay? So we've got our multivitamin, our cardio XLDL. We know why we're taking that at night. Now, the next one is your essential fatty acids. So these are essential fatty acids. This is actually 2,000 milligrams of essential fatty acids per day. We've talked about how important these are and why I recommend it as my top 3 picks for supplementation. But I will tell you what the American Heart Association says. The American Heart Association says that with 1,000 milligrams of essential fatty acids per day, it can reduce the risk of sudden death from cardiovascular issues by 45%. By 45%. Just one of these a day will reduce your risk of cardiovascular death by 45%. Just one a day. And we get to take 2 a day. All right? All right. Let's see. I think that's all I have for right now. So what we're going to do next is we're going to go ahead and we're going to watch a presentation that Shiree put together last night. Before I do that, I just wanted to mention one more thing. We didn't talk about toothpaste last week. We didn't talk about gum. I got a couple samples here of things that you could do for gum and toothpaste that's not going to have all those bad, nasty stuff in it. Also, too, I like to bring this out. This is a what do they call these? I don't have, there's another name for these. Help me out, Duran.
Awake Reckoning?
Yeah, I guess, yeah, it used to have a different name to it, didn't it?
There's a watchtower in
The Watchtower, I was just the Watchtower, okay. I thought this was really interesting, I had one of my former informers bring this to me, and he had highlighted it here, it said, do not pollute your body. Of course, they're using a scripture from 2 Corinthians 7:1. Let us cleanse ourselves of every defilement of flesh and spirit. And I think that's really cool that that's in there, because obviously, the spirit thing is that, another outside of the spectrum right now, but the flesh part is actually cleansing. We're told to cleanse because there is toxicity in all different manners. So just wanted to bring that up real quick. So we're gonna go ahead and listen to Shiree's presentation, and we'll be wrapping it up with smoothies.